Welcome to the Holy Smokes Podcast, a show about faith, friendship, fine tobacco, and drink. I'm Steve Reiter, and I am at Papa P's Smoke Shop and Lounge in Franklin, Tennessee. And I am with the owner of Papa P, Scott Partridge. Papa P, welcome.
P, thank you. Thanks for having me.
The Holy Smokes Podcast.
And thanks for being here.
So I make regular trips out here to hang out with Kay Hiramine, the founder of Holy Smokes. He's a dear friend and mentor, and I usually get out here about once a year. And the last time I was out here was November of 2023. And there was no Papa P's then. No. You guys were actually building this place when I was here last.
A lot of contractors and drywall going up, and you were kind of right when we were somewhat getting down to the nitty-gritty, so we were getting close.
But when I was getting ready to come out here, Kay was like, we got to do it. We got to do these things at Papa P's. Papa P's is the place to be. And I was like, really? Not in one of the other lounges that we usually go meet at and hang out at. And he's like, no, we're doing Papa P's because Scott takes care of us.
Thank you.
Scott just really loves this community, and it's really given a good location to meet here in south of Nashville and Franklin.
Yep.
So thank you.
Well,
thank you for your hospitality.
I thank Kay and all you folks as well. One of the things about the cigar industry, it's, for me, it's not about selling cigars and stuff. It's about the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest part of it. And through this venture, getting Papa P's opened here, it's how I've had the pleasure of meeting Kay and all the folks, from Holy Smokes. And, for me, I'm one of these, I think a lot of things in life happen for a reason. And for me, getting to meet Kay and this entire group has just been one of those things that it's really been a blessing in my life. It's just been very, very heartwarming to meet them and have a bunch of like-minded folks. So, yep, it's been, we welcome them in every time. So,
nice. Yeah. Now we were talking before, as you were kind of showing me around, you grew up in
I grew up in the Northeast in very rural upstate New York, up in what they call the Finger Lakes region. Beautiful, stunningly beautiful country.
Yeah.
But like so many people, I came here for the music industry, and 30 years ago, it's hard to believe, it's been 30 years, and one of the funny things when I came to town for the music industry is when you tell anybody in New York, they automatically thought I was a big city boy, and what they didn't realize is Nashville was huge to me. I was born and raised, about 300 miles from New York City, and had never been to New York City.
Really?
Never in my life.
Wow.
So it took a while for me to make people in Nashville realize that there's a whole other part of
New York that's not.
When I tell people, I think I had 19 kids in my graduating class and still had kindergarten through 12th grade in the same school building, and which is unheard of nowadays. I come from such a rural area that people think I kid about this, but we would close school on opening day of deer season. It's been a great journey for 30 years, and to think I was very blessed and had a great career in music, and now to think I'm sitting here doing this because I always loved cigars. Never ever dreamt that I'd be working in this industry.
But that was quite a journey, because you went from being a touring musician to working at Billboard,
you said. Working for Billboard magazine in the industry, and so I got to see all sides of the music industry, which is, a lot of people come to town and they're either writers or they are, musicians that tour. And for me, I look back with everything I've been blessed to do with both touring. I had some success with songwriting, and I look back now, and one of the reasons that I feel so fortunate now at 61 years old, I'm really, not that I didn't always appreciate it, but now I'm able to look back, and I see so many people come to this town far more talented than I am, that never ever, they either never made it, they never met the right people. They were never in the right place at the right time. And, you know, it's kind of neat now because since we've got this open in the big lounge out here, we've been doing music events where I'm bringing in up and coming artists and songwriters. And they're
here
incredible.
In the lounge or outside?
We do it here in the lounge. And I wanted to do it, but I was uncertain because it is a cigar bar. And number one, with the singers, even though we have a really good system to control the smoke, but it's still a smoking environment. So I wasn't sure how the artists would react to that. I wanted to make sure that the audience here understood what we were doing. These people were coming out showing their talent, and so I wanted to make sure they were going to be respectful to that, and it just didn't get loud. And all of them that we've done so far has been just the opposite. They love the artists. They go talk to them afterwards. They learn about them. Lots of applause. And so as I talk to all the artists, singer-songwriters that we've had so far, you know, they all tell me, this is fantastic. We don't get to do anything like this in Nashville.
Yeah.
You know, and we give them each a time slot. It's not your typical Nashville writers show. You know, you'll get 4 stools and you'll get 4 songwriters in a row, and they'll just go down the row and rush through their songs. Here we give them a good dedicated half-hour time slot. They can talk about their songs. They can give the story behind it, and just incredibly talented. And a lot of them get to learn about my background, so naturally they start asking for advice and this and that, and I'm very upfront and honest and tell them, you know, that industry, well, just like the cigar industry, it has changed so much that I'm probably not the best one to ask for advice. You know, the biggest advice I can give you is stay true to who you are. But, you know, it's so different than back when I was in the industry. You know, people don't buy records anymore. You know, it's one of the things I thought when we started doing the music shows here, when I was young in their age, you know, we had a merchandise table and we had CDs and we had stuff that, you know, they don't have that anymore. You know, now they got a QR code that will take you to their websites and Spotify and Amazon Music and so on. So, but it gives me a chance to, you know, because I still have a love for the music, so that's given me a chance to incorporate that into what we're doing here in the cigar and pipe world at Papa P's. So it's been a very neat venture.
So your transition, though, from the music industry, working at Billboard, to cigars, you told me, talk about that, because you told me.
You know, I truly thought when, I wasn't touring anymore and went to work at Billboard, and I was right in my element. I loved it back in the day, you know, and thought I'd be doing that for the rest of my career. And, you know, just like so many industries, the corporate world, in my years there, we got bought out 3 different times. So we were answering to different people. And to make a very long story short, you know, they came in, you know, pretty much unannounced, you know, a bunch of corporate folks that most of us had never met one day, and they just shut the Nashville office down.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it all started. You know, from there I was ready to, you know, maybe consider doing something different, and I just saw an ad in a newspaper that said Premium Cigar Shop in Nashville needs a manager, and I said, well, I don't know a darn thing about the cigar industry, but I know I love cigars, and that's how it all started. So.
And you said when they brought you in, it was almost out of curiosity.
I'm sure it was, you know, because they quickly said, well, you're not going to make what you've been making for the past several years. I said, no, I understand that. And, you know, but for me, it was, you know, you adjusted your lifestyle just a little, but for me, just the peace of mind of doing something
you enjoy
that I enjoyed made it all worthwhile. So,
yeah.
Yep. So it's been a very neat journey for me. And that's how, you know, you were asking earlier about Papa P, where that came from. My last name is Partridge, just like the family, which people used to say, well, why do you use that name in the music business? No, that's really my name, is Partridge. All year long until about the 1st of December. Then the whole pear tree thing will kick in for a month. But at the first cigar shop I had, I would hire a lot of college kids that worked, and as a result, I kind of became the the father figure, if you will. If they had school problems, they came to me, or money problems, or girl problems, whatever, and they just started calling me Papa P, and it just stuck. So that's where the Papa P thing came from. So it wasn't anything that was ever planned or anything. It just happened.
Yeah.
So
married, kids, on your phone, I saw likely a grandson?
Yep, I got just one daughter, and her husband have one child, my grandson Spencer, who was named after my father.
Cool.
And, my wife and I have been, I know I don't look nearly old enough for this, but been married 43 years to the same lady. So, yeah. And you don't see that a lot, especially for somebody in the music industry. And I don't mean that to sound bad, but
no, it's a toll. It takes a toll being gone on the road.
Being gone and playing, and when my daughter was young, I do look back, and I don't want to say I have regrets because it was my living, but at the same time, you do sacrifice a lot. I missed a lot of school recitals and things like that when my daughter was young, and but now it's neat, with my grandson, I'm not missing a thing. So, yep.
So they're local?
Yep. So I live quite a ways from here. I live about 60 some miles north of here. So really? Up in Sumner County, and they live up near there as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's got to be a heck of a drive going through Nashville.
It is. I just kind of learned to deal with it. I get a big old cup of coffee every morning, and I think a whole lot of it is just the mindset. If you get up every day just dreading the traffic you're going to go through, it's going to be twice as bad. So
yeah.
I get up, leave extra early. I usually leave myself an extra hour every morning because you just never know going through Nashville.
Yeah.
I leave at 6:30 in the morning roughly, and a lot of mornings I'm here by, 8 o'clock. Other mornings it's pushing 9. So but I think it's all of, I'm not saying I love it, but I approach it with a positive attitude.
Which is the way to do it.
And know
really
that,
is.
Hey, when I get to this point, I'm going to get stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to get through that, and then here's the next point up here. I'm going to be sitting in traffic, and if you approach it with "it is what it is," then you're fine.
What are you listening to when you're on the drive?
I'm probably telling on myself. I listen to a lot of conservative talk radio.
Okay.
We got a great station here in Nashville that I enjoy. If not that, I'm listening to Willie's Roadhouse or bluegrass on satellite radio. So I grew up on bluegrass music. So
really,
I still
Upstate New York.
Yep.
Interesting.
Still have a great love of bluegrass music, and so fortunately through satellite radio, I can still hear all the old country stuff that I grew up on, and I can hear bluegrass too. So, and bluegrass is fascinating to me. I know I'm getting way off topic of cigars here, but I just love what these young bluegrass artists are out here doing. And you got artists like Billy Strings, selling out. What's the big venue out in Colorado?
Ball Arena or Mission Ballroom.
Well,
Red Rocks.
Red Rocks.
Red Rocks.
When you got Billy Strings, a young bluegrass musician, selling out Red Rocks 3 nights in a row, it's pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's very cool. So you managed. At what point did you own?
Well, I managed the first one, and then when I left there, I owned a shop out in Wilson County, and had that for a while, and it was a partnership thing, and it just didn't, it was a smaller market, and it did well enough to support one owner and really not two, and the other fellow had young children, and so I left that, and then that's how this came about. The previous owners of this building and wine and liquor store had this little cigar shop inside their wine and liquor store down here, and they just kept calling me out of the blue to come down and run their cigar shop because people had got to know me in the industry, and I kind of, to be honest with you, I put them off just because it was such a drive, but I finally came down and talked to them, and it seemed like a challenge to me, a little cigar store inside of a wine and liquor store, and and I had 300 square feet with my humidor and all. So that's how it all started here. And then eventually a new group of owners bought it all out and bought the cigar shop, and that's how this came about. And that's when it changed to Papa P's. And I'm right up front, this is nothing I could have ever done on my own. It's another one of those things where you feel very fortunate and very blessed. A group of owners saw what I was doing and believed in me and said, hey, what do you think about taking this to the next level? And so I've been very fortunate to have, an ownership group that just said, what's it going to take to do this? And when I told them what I thought it would take to do it, I kind of figured, well, that'll be the end of this. And, lo and behold, here we are. So, like I say, I look back and at everything in my life, and I just feel very fortunate for the people I've met, the opportunities I've been given, and the group of guys here. Like I say, it's a very good feeling that you have people that believe in you to the point where they say, we're going to make this happen for you, so, and they're in and out, not as much, but, one of them is in and out a lot that just loves what we do here, and he's retired, and but I'm the one here on the day-to-day basis, just kind of making it all happen, so. But again, certainly, as you can see, as beautiful as it is out there, and nothing I could have ever done on my own. So it's been very cool. Once again, it's been a very cool journey that I've been on, making Papa P's happen here. So, yeah.
Well, this is a beautiful lounge that Kay highly recommended, and very appreciative of allowing this space for me to record and for what you've done for the Holy Smokes community here. So,
well, that feeling is very mutual. I tell you what's been fascinating, other than I've just really grown to enjoy their camaraderie and company and all the great people I have met through Kay and his organization. But where it really started hitting home to me what this group really, how big it is and what it's all about, is when I started getting people from out of state coming in. They were passing through this area and made a point to stop here because Kay said, this is where you need to, if you're passing through there, you need to stop and see Papa P. So, I mean, how cool is that? To get, and it's happened on more than one occasion over the past year since we've been open.
Hopefully you get a lot more with this podcast.
People will come in from out of state and
talking
say
more about it.
Hey, we're with the Holy Smokes here or there, and Cade and them said we needed to stop here when we're passing through. So it's been very, very neat.
Well, when I'm in downtown Nashville, I hit up Red Phone Booth, and when I'm here, this is my go-to now.
Yep.
This is my go-to.
Red Phone Booth is very cool as well. I don't go a lot because as I've gotten older, I know Nashville is what brought me to town, but now I kind of stay away from it as much as possible because I know the crowds and how big it's gotten down there. It's just astounding to me. Back in the early days, like if I wasn't out on, doing tour and stuff, when I had downtime, a lot of those musicians down on Broadway, they would get to know a lot of the traveling musicians and stuff, and I worked a lot of nights playing with bands down on Broadway. If you weren't out on tour, they would call and.
What did you play? What do you play?
Well, down there I played a lot of instruments. Guitar and pedal steel guitar.
Yeah.
But I would play down on Broadway, and I played drums a lot as well. So I was fortunate. I always tell people I'm probably pretty good at a lot of instruments, not outstanding at any of them, but pretty good at a lot of different instruments. And so I would even get calls to do demos, recordings. I'd get a lot of calls because I could, play guitar for them, steel for them. Nowadays, I just pretty much play guitar. I got this love of old Martin guitars, and so most of my playing, I was out on my back deck with my old Martin guitar and sing to all my deer down in my woods. So I feed deer.
So you're bringing in musicians. Are you ever one of the musicians that's playing?
Everybody keeps asking. So one of these nights I'm gonna surprise them and get up and do some stuff. So But the music aspect to the Cigar Lounge is it's really gone well, and it's kind of given me a little faith in the music industry, because the ones we've been having in here are really talented, and both has songwriters and vocalists.
Yeah.
And as an old musician, you know, what the average person sitting out there don't realize is, like, we've had 2 or 3 of them that have played here that were just like monster guitar players. And I'll stand back and watch, and everybody's hearing the words and the voice.
And you're just watching.
And they're not realizing, boy, they're like playing augmented and diminished chords, and they're doing, you know, stuff that the average listener hears but don't necessarily
understand the
complexity of it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that at one point we'll start having some gold plaques and stuff on the walls from people that you heard them here first. So, and it could very well happen in this town. So, you know, the first cigar shop I had was right in Nashville, and we had a room similar to this, and we had a lot of songwriters that would come up and write. There were some hit records written in my room back there, you know, and they'd come in because they could smoke cigars and sit there for 3 or 4 hours and write their songs. And so it's been very neat. So, but yeah, that's my hope here, that one of these gets the break they need, and then they'll remember us when they're big. So
the next Jelly Roll or Chris Stapleton or.
Well, you know what's neat about this area is even here on any given day, there's great people from the music industry in and out of here. And what's neat about this area, and I think this is one of the reasons a lot of, even from LA and New York, a lot of big music people, artists and everything, have kind of merged towards the Nashville area, because here, even as big as they are, they can come in here and they're just like you or I. Mm-hmm. You know, people, you know, they enjoy their cigars. They're just us, you know. So, you know, I had a pretty major country artist that's very popular that was in here just this morning, and I see him once or twice a week. You know, and he's just us when he's here. You know, he loves his cigars. He loves to talk, and so that's the other very neat thing about this area that we're in. So. Yep.
How do people find out about this place? Website, address?
You know, we're getting ready to launch a new website, but other than that, social media, I mean, we literally in a year, we have done 0 advertising. We had planned on it, but it just organically grew, you know, from the early stages.
Yeah.
And it's people like Kay and other people that just, you know, found us through our social media or whatever. And, yeah, like that part's been eye-opening to me, you know, as a 61-year-old, you know, I know all the social media sites and stuff, but I guess I never knew the impact that they had until we started this venture. And, you know, but we've done 0 advertising. It's just been word of mouth, so.
That's cool. Yeah. Papa P's in Franklin, Tennessee. If you got a few more minutes, I'd like to do some rapid-fire questions.
Sure.
Rapid fire. Fire here.
I always start out asking with the very first question, what you smoking, but we immediately got into the story, so what you smoking?
Yeah, I'm smoking a La Creme by Crowned Heads, which is right here in Nashville. The former CAO guys. We're very fortunate right here in Nashville to have a great cigar company right in our backyard. So this is from John Huber and Crowned Heads. And to me, it's just a good medium-bodied, smooth, everyday smoking cigar. So that's what I'm smoking right at the moment.
When did you first try cigars or pipe?
Boy, I probably smoked my first cigar probably in my 20s. And I'm not at all ashamed to say, because, you know, it's sort of funny with how some people are in this industry, but I think I'm probably like the vast majority of cigar smokers. I mean, my first cigars were machine-made stuff from a convenience store.
Mm-hmm. Same.
You know, you get people that like to look down on them and make fun of them, but I believe probably the vast majority of us, that's where you started.
Yeah.
You know, and I smoked them for many years, and then, you know, when the first time I had an actual premium hand-rolled cigar, you know, then you have that oh wow moment where you realize, oh, I get it now. I understand. So,
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I started. So,
Do you have a favorite cigar?
boy, I don't know that I would want to say I have an absolute favorite, but I've got 2 or 3 that I always talk about. For me, you know, what I would call my treat myself special occasion cigar. It's a Padron Family Reserve 45 Maduro. For me, I just think it's the epitome of a great cigar.
Yeah.
So I always keep a handful of them in my humidor at home. And if someone asked me if you could never smoke another cigar, only one cigar ever again, what would it be? It would probably be a Fuente Hemingway. I just think it's one of the great classic cigars. I think a Fuente Hemingway uses the best Cameroon wrapper leaf that I've ever encountered. And
Yeah.
but then I also, I'm a big fan of a lot of them. I'm a big fan of about anything Don Pepin Garcia does. Ernesto Perez Crillo's doing great cigars these days. And then I've got a brand in my humidor that you don't see very many places, but it's called Elogio. It's just very small. I read about them, probably 12, 13 years ago on some obscure cigar blog, and it just caught my attention, and I tracked them down, and it's a Nicaraguan Puro, and they're just incredible cigars. You know, the company itself is based out of Wichita, Kansas, the hotbed of the cigar industry. And you don't see them a lot of places, and that's because they're so small that they just open up very few accounts because they don't want to not be able to keep them in product. But those are just a handful of them, but a lot of great cigars on the market these days.
It's the most expensive cigar you've ever smoked.
The most expensive cigar I've ever smoked, probably, around $100 mark. But, for me, when you get into cigars in that price point, and I'm very different from most retailers. If you walk into a lot of cigar shops and they say, what's the best cigar you have in here? They're going to take you to the most expensive.
Yeah.
For me, and we're very fortunate here. We get a lot of the Padron anniversaries. Plasencia is a great brand for us right now, and I'm just very big on Plasencia as well.
Yeah.
And like when the hard to get Fuente stuff comes out, we get very fortunate to get a good allotment of it.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff, like over the holiday season, we had some Arturo Fuente Dubai cigars come in. First time they've ever been available in the United States. And but I priced them, the same way I priced everything, and they retailed here at about the $50 mark. And we sold through them in no time. But I saw a lot of other shops that did get them that were literally pushing $100 a piece for them, and they sold them. But I don't believe in doing that. But even with that, when you get in the $50 range for a cigar, I'm very upfront and honest with people. Is a cigar really worth that? No. But part of what you're smoking is the rarity, if it's that rare of a cigar.
Yeah.
So part of it is the experience of what you're smoking here. Sometimes we'll get a cigar, and this will be the only time people ever get a chance to smoke that cigar. But I'm very upfront and honest. This is going to be most likely a very good cigar. Is it $50? It's kind of like an antique. It's what somebody's willing to pay for it. But part of it is the experience of smoking something. It's sort of like a lot of the allocated, harder to get bourbons we have out on the bar. They're a lot more expensive. Are they worth that? They're worth it to the people who typically never have a chance to try that bourbon. So,
what's your favorite dollar for dollar stick that you have in your humidor?
Right now, I would probably say a Flor de Los Antilles from Don Pepin Garcia, part of my father. I think 2 or 3 years ago, it was Cigar Aficionado's #1 cigar of the year, and I thought, oh, great, now it's going to be, but it's still under $10, Nicaraguan, just a great medium-bodied cigar. It's always constructed and burns well, but it's a Flor de Los Antilles. I think by today's standards for prices for a cigar that I'm still able to retail under $10, they're hard to beat.
Nice. What's your favorite liquid pairing with your smoke?
I'm a rum guy.
Oh.
Now,
all right.
And this has been something that's been unique around here is, because naturally, going back, the old mentality was you paired up cigars with scotch. Mm-hmm. And then the bourbon craze took that over. And now one of my neat things here is kind of educating people. And when I say rum, I'm not talking about the real sweet, like, one of my favorite rums is called Ron Zacapa. And I had a friend introduce me to that because I was never a big rum guy. He said, no, this is a sipping rum. You drink this. So, like, my preferred is like Ron Zacapa rum. There's a brand we do have at the bar now called Papa Pilar's, which is just a really great rum. And, I kid around. I tell our customers out here that if they're getting Ron Zacapa or Papa Pilar's, I'll be very offended if you mix it with Coke. But that's what my preferred is. Now, I'll enjoy a good bourbon, or I tell people this, one of my favorite liquid pairings, I don't want to say my favorite, but one I do frequently, like on a weekend morning or something, get a nice mild cigar and a big old glass of chocolate milk. You'd be surprised how great they are together, so.
No one's ever said chocolate milk. That's the first. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it does. They complement each other, and this cigar I got now, it's got a neat little chocolatey hints to it. So, but when I just want to sit down and relax with a nice cigar, it's typically a good glass of rum. So,
most interesting person you've ever met through cigars?
Boy, a lot of them. Of course, I've been very fortunate to have met a lot of the people within the industry. But over the years, it's been neat to have sold cigars to a lot of great people. So I don't know if I could pinpoint one, but boy, that's a tough question. But within the industry itself, people like Don Pepin Garcia and Carlito Fuente to get to, because they got such a rich history, and George Padron, they got such a legacy and rich history in tobacco that it's very neat to have got to meet all them.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of this is because of our location, but a lot of different celebrities, and some that even had shared personal phone numbers with, and
wow,
and would call me out of the blue. And like I used to, I still do some. Just a couple weeks ago, a pretty big artist in town, called me and said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to head out tonight, but I need cigars. Is there any chance you could bring them over to my house?" So I'm driving over to their house, and then, it's very neat because they're, like I say, they're just like you and I. Now, they live in a lot nicer house than I do. Not that there's nothing wrong with my house, but yeah, just people like that. It's been very cool.
Do you have a most memorable cigar experience?
I would say really it would be my first true premium hand-rolled cigar that I really realized the difference.
Where were you?
Believe it or not, I was in Los Angeles when this happened.
Tour?
No.
Okay.
It was through, I was out there working in the Billboard offices out there. We were a sister publication to the Hollywood Reporter and stuff, and I'd say that would be my first really memorable experience. And then later in life, like one of my most enjoyable things now is like enjoying a cigar with my son-in-law. It's the one thing that we kind of have together, and we don't get to do it as often as we'd like, but it's just a real joy for me to sit down with him and
awesome.
Have a drink and a cigar.
Favorite food?
I'm a meat and potatoes. I'm an old country boy, so I'll never turn down a good steak, and steak and seafood would be where I would put myself at with that.
What's one unusual fact that few people know about you?
Well, actually got a lot. Well, even, it's like what I just mentioned, I was in Los Angeles. I actually, through Billboard and them, I actually lived out there. Most people have no idea, but I actually lived out there for 8 or 9 months working in the office out there. And, it was the longest 5 years of my life. And again, even out there, they didn't understand, what a rural upbringing I had, and Los Angeles was just overwhelming to me. And I share a funny story. My first day out there, I had a red F-150 pickup, Ford F-150 pickup truck, and I pulled it into the parking garage, and I walked in the office, and dressing up for me was a good pair of jeans and boots and a jacket. And I mean, it literally, as I was walking through the offices, I could see heads popping out behind the cubicles, like looking at me, and I'm like, and then I realized, well, I was wearing jeans and boots, and I wasn't your typical Los Angeles person. But then one of the big people from the Hollywood Reporter magazine introduced me to her and said, "You must be the one with the redneck pickup truck out in the parking garage." I said, "Yeah, that's me. I'm guilty." I didn't last real long, Fortunately, they realized there was nothing I was doing out there that I couldn't do back in Nashville, and so. But a lot of people have no idea that I was out there for even that long. So,
name 3 things you were thankful for at this point in your life.
That's pretty. First and foremost is my faith, because that is. I'm one of these that I truly have had some things in life that have happened and that I've been through that cannot be explained any other way than there's somebody looking over me. Mm-hmm. So that's always first and foremost, and then family is, right there, very close second. And then third is kind of what I've talked about through this whole thing is, being 61 years old and looking back at life now. My wife has told me many times that I ought to write a book about, my life, and because she thinks so many people would be fascinated by where, I always refer to it as a journey, but it's been very fascinating. I come from a little town so rural and country that most people never even dare to leave.
I grew up in a very small town.
Yeah.
My graduating class was 55, so it was a sprawling metropolis compared to you.
Yes, yeah.
But
So
I
think
totally get that.
third, one thing I'm very grateful for is just the opportunities that I've been given in life, and it's neat to be at an age like I mentioned to you earlier. I never took them for granted. I always appreciated them, but boy, now I appreciate them even more that I get to look back. And,
yeah.
Like even through my years in music, I'm kind of in the process of putting together, a lot of old photos and stuff and newspaper articles and magazine stories and trying to get them in a digital format, for my grandson to have someday. He's 8 years old and, I'm just Papa to him. But at some point it would be neat for him to look back and realize what Papa did in his life. So.
If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Well, I'm an animal lover, so I'd probably say a dog just because.
Any breed in particular?
I'm a big fan of rescuing animals, so I mean, I just truly, as I look back in life, on the very worst of days, my dog always still loved me and made me feel better. So if I could be a dog and do that to somebody else, then that would be awesome.
What's your greatest strength and what's your greatest weakness?
I think, if I had to pick my greatest strength, is the ability to truly judge and see the good in most people. Even people who you wouldn't think. I think that's something I take pride in, is being a pretty good judge of character, and I try to help anybody who I could help, through whatever they may be going through in life. So maybe my biggest downfall is I try too hard to do that. And I find myself in situations that, by gosh, I think I'm going to fix this, only to realize that I'm not the one that can fix it.
Yep. Who's been the greatest influence in your life?
My greatest influence, hands down, would be my father, who I miss dearly. But my father, he was one that never knew a stranger. He was a hard-working, man, mechanic his whole life. But he was the epitome of being able to show unconditional love. And, so even now that he's been, since he's been gone many years, I still talk with him on almost a daily basis. And anytime I find myself questioning or unsure, I think, well, what would Dad do in this situation? So certainly would be, I'd have to say my father. So
How do you want to be remembered?
just as a caring person and one that even through times that I wasn't successful at this or that, or I still tried my best. And I also, one thing I want to be remembered as is, we're all human, and boy, I've made a lot of mistakes in life, but I always recognized them and will try to correct my own mistakes. And I think people realize that, but I just love to, I work in an industry now where, everybody goes through things in life, and to have an outlet where, even if it's just for an hour in the cigar lounge, you can help them set that aside just for a few minutes. It's a very rewarding and humbling thing to be able to do. So,
All right, final 3 questions. What does Holy Smokes mean to you, and how has it contributed to your spiritual journey?
Well, number one, as I said earlier, just the camaraderie of all these folks that I met. Because even though I've been selling cigars right 2 doors down for, 10 years, I never met any of them until we got into this venture. And, I'll just share a quick personal story. I'm actually going through a situation now with a loved one that's, let's see, this could be a very long story, so I'm going to make it very short. But a year ago, literally less than 2 weeks before we were opened here, my mother suffered a very, very severe stroke. And, had to be life-flighted to Vanderbilt at 90 years old, had to have brain surgery, and should have never survived the stroke. But life changed instantly, from one day to the next, we realized, we're now full-time caregivers. It's a tough thing. In the course of this span, my mother's gone through several more health setbacks, and I don't really come out and talk about it, but everybody, people learn and they know. And, the fact that a few months ago my mother was really struggling, and just out of the blue, Kay asked if he could step in my office and prayed for me. Mm. And it meant so much because he's never met my mother and hadn't known me that long. And just the fact that somebody, for no other reason, and then asked if they could say a prayer for me and my family and my mother, and very grateful that he did that. So, Yep, good people. A lot of good people left in this world, even though sometimes we overlook that, but there's still a lot of very good people in this world.
All right. If you could have a holy smoke with any 3 people throughout history, living or deceased, who would they be? Can't name Jesus.
Boy, you got tough questions.
I would assume probably your father.
My father, for sure, definitely would be one.
Who would be the other 2?
I don't know whether he ever would or not, but Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Just a man that he just has this way of, I used to...
Gravitas.
It was just, if he wouldn't enjoy a holy smoke with me, that's a man that I would have loved to have just sat down and been able to spend some time with.
Yeah.
And the third, this is kind of get in the music world, but it's also a man that I knew was very spiritual, especially late in life, and that'd probably be Johnny Cash.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking you would say when you said music.
He just came across as this powerful, and he's one of the few that I've been very blessed to have met a lot of people of that nature in this industry, but I never met him. And you could tell, in life he had become a very godly man, and I just think that now there's a man I would have loved to have gotten to just shake his hand one time. So I probably, as an old music person, a songwriter, I probably made these answers 10 times longer than they needed to be. So
it's good. It's letting people get to know you a little bit, so that way when they come in, pop a P, and they feel like they know you.
Yeah.
They feel like they know you a bit. All right, last question. if we were to meet 1 year from today, and I got a bottle of your favorite rum, and we're kicking back over a cigar, what are we celebrating?
Boy, I think we're celebrating that, number one, I'm still here and very blessed to be, to do what I do for a living. But I'd say more, for me, and I don't want to get real deep into this, but I've been one that, the last few years, I've been very concerned about where the world's been going. And we're seeing that turn a little bit. I'm not one that really gets talking deeply political or anything, but a lot of things that, I've seen in recent years that had me worried about what's this world going to be like, for my grandson in 10 years from now or 20 years from now. But, I think just, celebrating that we're all still here a year from now and the fact that, just, getting to meet you. It's been, like I say, been a very incredible journey that I've been on. So, and met some of the, through cigars, I've met some of the best people I've ever met in my life. Yeah. So, it's, one thing I say about cigars, and I see it on a day-to-day basis, like in here, I got people that I know are high-profile attorneys. I've got people that are very high up in the music industry. I got people that mow lawns for a living. When they light up a cigar and sit down together, they're all the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's one of the beauties of what cigars and even pipes. We gladly welcome pipe smoking here, and it's very rare we don't have a few people sitting out there with, enjoying a pipe. And so to me, that's one of the beautiful things about this industry. Everybody comes from, different walks of life, and once they sit down, we're all the same when it really comes down to it. So, and a cigar will bring that out in people. So,
Scott Partridge, AKA Papa P. Thanks for being on the Holy Smokes podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. This has been a pleasure.
Hey everyone, I wanted to announce that we have Holy Smokes gear. That's right, we have swag. We currently have hats, shirts, stickers like for your vehicle or your travel humidor, magnets, even branded bourbon glasses for a limited time. Go to holysmokes.club and click on the shop tab. That's holysmokes.club. I'm super proud of the shirts. They're made with Bella canvas shirts that are soft and incredibly comfortable. The hats fit wonderfully, which can be a problem for those of us with big noggins. We plan on having a lot more to offer, like Guayabera shirts, additional t-shirt designs, beanies, polos, hoodies, cigar accessories, and much more. Check it out. And even if you don't make a purchase now, be sure to sign up for that email list, as I've thrown a couple big discount coupon codes for those exclusively on that list. So click the shop tab at holysmokes.club. Thanks.